Hi guys, it's me Steph from Life with the Stephs, and today I wanted to do a sit down video. Because I feel like lately me and Stefan have been on vacation, we've been super busy, and I haven't really got to have sit down chats with you guys since my adoption journey, which I will add more to those videos. But I'm just trying to get a bunch of stuff together, and instead I really want to talk about something else that I don't know if other people have really experienced. I actually looked this topic up on YouTube and I couldn't find anything about it. Today I'm going to talk about what it has been like to live in a small town, being a minority, being a person of color, and just not living in an environment that is honestly, as sad as it is in 2020, that is not used to people of color being in the town that I am in. And I'm gonna be completely honest right now, living in a small town has been the hardest thing, one of the hardest things I've been dealing with, on top of some of the other things I've been dealing with. Living in a small town, I'm not gonna say it was the worst decision, but I wish I did more information, I wish I looked up more information. I wish I did more searching, because mentally this hasn't taken me down a lot, but I have struggled with my mental health because of this town and because I feel like I don't belong, and that could also partially be in my head, but it's also just because I live in a small town that wasn't, I guess, used to people of color being in the town. Kind of the background story of why I am where I am and how I ended up in this small town, and then I want to tell you what it has been like ever since I've been in this small town. So Stefan and me have been dating for 2 years and a few months now, and Stefan last year had the opportunity to get a new position, to move up in his job, and it was an amazing opportunity, and there's 2 places that he could move to, and the 2 places were both small towns, and at the time I didn't really know much about small towns. I only ever grew up in the city. I was raised where there was quite a bit of different races, and it was just the norm. So I really wanted to get out of long distance with Stefan. We had been long distance for 1.5 years, and I couldn't do it anymore. He couldn't do it anymore. Well, we could, but we just really wanted to bring on this next step together in our life and just make it work the best we can. So I ended up moving in with Stefan in the small town that he wasn't raised in, but his parents were raised here, and then he had lived here for a few years prior, and yeah, he just had a very good job, and he had a lot of friends here, and he had a good support system, and he has lots of family here. So that's where he ended up deciding to move, take the job, and buy a house. And at first it seemed super exciting, and it was really cool, and I was super excited to leave the city and just have a different environment, and to completely just change and grow and really get to know a new place, make new friends, get a job somewhere else other than the city, which was huge. And not only was it super, the city was just big, it was very the driving was very crowded, especially in the winter. So I was super excited to move to a town where it would be a lot more calm, and it wouldn't take me 45 minutes to get from one end to the other, which has been really nice about living in Whitecourt, because I literally can leave for my doctor 5 minutes before the doctor appointment, and I could still be there 2 minutes early. So that was something that was super great, and I kind of just didn't even realize some of the negative that was going on, because I just kept seeing all of the positive, which is good. There's nothing wrong with it, but slowly but surely I found myself getting very disheartened. Disheartened because I couldn't get a job, and me and Stefan moved in together in January, and then the pandemic happened in March, so it's not like it was surprising that I couldn't get a job, but I had not made many friends at all yet. So it was a very lonely pandemic, because a lot of my friends, they live in the big city, and some of them don't drive, and so they just never made the drive out to come visit me, and that's okay. I'm not mad, but it made it so much harder to have my transition to this small town, because I didn't have a lot of support from my friends who were in the big city, because yeah, there was a pandemic and everybody was busy, and we don't have that much money, and it's a lot to drive almost 2 hours to come visit someone. We moved into this house, Stefan bought a house, and it was in a more upper class neighborhood. it's definitely, I don't want to sound racist or like rude or anything in this way, but there's definitely higher class people, and there's not really a variety of races in this neighborhood that I have seen yet. And I've done a lot of walks with Maggie and stuff, and it's very much just the typical Caucasian rich neighborhood. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that, because for the majority of, like, when we first moved in, people were super welcoming to both me and Steph. They were super interested in seeing how we were so young and we were just making things work, and how we were so young and living in a house during the pandemic. And people were just like, they were very nice to us, because yeah, I am a social work student and people seem to be super interested in that and how I was becoming a social worker. And Steph was working for one of the bigger companies, known companies within the town. And so yeah, that was all good. We began getting pretty close with our neighbor across the street. He happens to be the most welcoming person to us. He was so kind, or he was kind at first. He was pretty nice to us. But then it started getting like not as good. He was unintentionally racist. When Steph would be at work, he would approach me and tell me that everybody in the neighborhood was nervous because they've never really seen people of color and they weren't used to a black girl living in their neighborhood. And so they thought that when me and Steph originally moved into the house, they thought that I was like the mover. They didn't know I was the girlfriend. They just assumed right away that I was the mover, just helping him move in. And when I was told that, I was kind of hurt. I was kind of offended, because I was like, what? Like, why? It's 2020. Can two people not be in an interracial relationship without people judging? So I was really taken back when he told me that, but it was just one thing, and I was like, that's okay, this is gonna happen. It is, I guess, new territory for a lot of people, and I just have to make my mark and show them that I'm here and I'm a good person. And now thinking into terms, like 6 months later, I should have never had to do that. Never. Like, my boyfriend was accepted in this neighborhood right away. Nobody thought anything different of him. So why was I not accepted right away? I then started being told by this same neighbor that people thought I was going to be a drug addict and I was going to be selling drugs on the corners of their streets. And I actually was very hurt by that. I called Steph and I was crying, and I told Steph I don't get it, because I'm not any different than anybody else. I'm a university student. I'm trying to make something good for myself. Where did I go wrong? I don't even know these people and they're already talking about me in a negative way. That was racism that I didn't fully realize was going on, but I did realize it, but I don't know how to even talk about it. I don't even know how to say about it. It really sucked, and it started really bringing me down my mood. I was nervous. I was scared. I felt like I didn't fit into the neighborhood. I really didn't want to go outside. I actually hung out in the garage a lot. I wouldn't really go out unless Steph was around, because I was like, this isn't great. I don't like this at all. And I will be honest with you, I'm a fine driver, but when it comes to backing in a vehicle, all driving, anything I've learned from driving, it goes out the window. I don't know. I just have issues with backing in. I really don't know why, but that's just something I have issues with. My neighbors would watch me back in, and sometimes I would be having troubles, because I think the issue is I also never really had to back in at my parents' house. I would literally just pull up and park, and I never really had to back in my vehicle. So I never really learned how to back in properly, and I've driven many different vehicles of different sizes, so I've never learned my vehicle super well that I'm very good at backing in. I'm just not good at it, and I would be told by the neighbors, yeah, we laugh at you because you're such a bad driver and you're so bad at backing in. And my one neighbor in specific would always come to my boyfriend when he came home from work, and he would like tell on me and be like, oh my goodness, like, your girlfriend's so bad at doing this and she's so bad at backing it. And then when he wasn't talking to my boyfriend, he would make jokes about how like people of different races aren't as good as drivers, like, but not specifically saying like a black person or person of color, but just people of different races. And then he would make fun of me for backing in. And so to me, I realized now that that was really sucky, because he was taking shots at me that I didn't really deserve. Now, this was just within the neighborhood.